Good day, my name is Thaddeus Shikukumwa. I am the tutor for the subject Teaching and Assessment Mentoring for B.Ed Honors students. My contact number is 0811480977. Should you want to contact me, then you contact me on that number. And my email address is t_shikukumwa@yahoo.co.uk. I'm going to present to you the subject Teaching and Assessment Mentoring B, and this has 5 units. The 5 units that I'm going to present to you are as follows. Unit 1 is titled Establishing a Coaching and Mentoring Culture in School. Unit 2, the features of performance management and its relationship to mentoring. Unit 3, broader applications of mentoring than for teaching staff. And Unit 4, international research findings about mentoring. And the last unit, which is Unit 5, it is success of mentoring system. As a student for this subject, Teaching and Assessment Mentoring, you should be able to study all the 5 units in more details, because what I'm going to present to you is simply the summary, just to give you a picture of what does the subject entails, especially from different units. Unit 1. Before I start, I would like to encourage you and direct you that the best way of tackling these units and getting the picture or picking up the content of the unit is to read the objectives of that particular unit. And then when you are studying for examination, you should focus then on those objectives. Even though I wouldn't want to direct you for examination purposes only, but to use this in a practical terms, to apply it in your daily basis as a leader of the school, as a teacher of the school, as the head of department for the school, just to make sure that you utilize the drills, the traits and characteristics that are given here for you to prosper in this particular subject and also in your career. To start with, Unit 1, as I have said, is establishing a coaching and mentoring culture in school. As a student, you must know the definition of the word culture, school culture, not your own culture, but the culture of the school. This definition depends upon you. You should read the definition that's provided. But when you are going to write examination, you must give your own definition. Not necessarily your own definition, but making use of your own words. As long as you understand the terminology, school culture, then unpack it in your own words. Then definitely you are going to manage and get marks for that. The definition that it includes, among others, the norms, the beliefs, and the values of the school. Because each school is operating according to the norms, the beliefs, and the various aspects, the beliefs of such school. So, the other aspect under this establishing a coaching and mentoring culture in the school, it's the function of the principal. The principal of the school has a very important task to perform, because he has to make sure that mentoring has taken place. Mentoring is not one-way traffic, but involves different stakeholders, different people, the parents, the learners, teachers, new teachers that are coming to school. So these should all go through mentoring. So the function of the principal is therefore to create mentoring culture for the school. There should be a culture of mentoring, of guiding, of directing and helping others to be at the same par, to perform according to the expectations. So therefore the principal has to select the mentors, the people that are going to do mentoring in the school. It's the responsibility of the school principal to make sure that certain individuals are identified to do the mentoring, and they should have certain characteristics that can help somebody who's being mentored to excel. The training should also be given to the mentors, because they cannot just be taken, okay, go out and do mentoring, but they should also be guided. So it's therefore the responsibility of the principal to do the mentoring or to do the training for mentoring. Induction, because when we are talking about mentoring, induction can also play a major role, can also be brought in, because when new teachers are coming at school, they should not just be given books and syllabus and be told go and teach, but they should be inducted. And it's also, and this is part and parcel of mentoring. They are being guided, they are being directed, they are being taken through for them to fit in the classroom situation, to be able to teach the learners and guide them and give them the words and drills that are necessary for them to perform at the end of the day. There are barriers to coaching. You might, sometimes you want to do mentoring, but then you are being held back by certain aspects. But we should not take this as an excuse. Therefore, the issues that you might experience that might hamper, might hinder, might block the way of mentoring are, for example, the workloads. Sometimes the mentors have a lot to do. They have their classes. They also have certain tasks to perform. Head of department perhaps, or senior teachers. The workload might be an obstacle, but we should not take it as an excuse. Mentoring has to take place for a school's performance to prosper. It can also be sometimes the person is doing mentoring but is not being recognized. It's also one of the setbacks. But as a principal, you should plan effectively to make sure that your mentors are recognized. They are given certificates, for example, for the person to have the courage to continue, that I'm a mentor. If the next teacher, new teacher is coming next time, then I will be able to guide or perform this task, since at least the work being done is being recognized. Then we can also talk about school auditing system. The school auditing system creates a framework for coaching. It should be designed in such a way that it looks at mentoring, coaching, so that it can be accommodated and be part and parcel of the school's culture. As a student, you should also be able to look at the components of an induction program for new teachers. Have a clear understanding. In case you are even appointed as somebody who's going to do the mentorship or mentoring of the new teachers, then you understand the whole aspect, not only for examination purposes, but of course, in examination can be asked to highlight or to give the components of an induction program for new teachers. Then you should know it. You should be able to present it in your own words. That's where my emphasis is, that you should be able to write, making use of your own words. In this way, you are demonstrating to the marker that you know what is expected from you, and apply it back when you go back to the classroom situation, just to make sure that you know how does this work. This brings us to the end of Unit 1, which is establishing a coaching and mentoring culture in a school. Moving on to Unit 2. Unit 2, the title of Unit 2 is the features of performance management and its relationship to mentoring. As a student, you must be able to define or to give a description, to describe what is performance management. You can define it with your own words as long as it's in line with the description, the correct description of what a performance management is. Perhaps you can, some of the information that you can include when you are describing the performance management is, this is a holistic approach of people management for better performance, because you are trying to manage the people that are in your organization as a school principal, just to make sure that there is a maximum and conducive performance at the end of the day that you want to be associated with. You should also, as a student, you should also be able to know the phases of performance management. We have 3 of them. You should understand them. You should know them and understand them, be able to describe and discuss what are those phases. We have planning in number 1, we have monitoring, and then we have reviewing. So these are the 3 phases of performance management, and you should have a clear understanding of this. You should also be able to discuss, very, very important, discuss the relationship between mentoring and performance. Now, the new teachers are mentored. Will they be able to deliver in the class? And the same apply to the learners. If the learners are well mentored, then chances are that they will perform. So that you must be able to match the 2, mentoring and performance. What do they have in common? What is that intertwining them? What are the aspects that are involved, mentoring to performance? Does mentoring lead to performance? So read your module and have a clear understanding of the relation between the 2. And you should also be able to understand how to deal with resistance to performance management, how to deal with resistance. Because in any organization, you are going to experience resistance. In any case, when a change is introduced in any organization, we tend to experience resistance from the people, because people are scared of change, fear of change. So now, go to those drills and have a clear understanding how to deal with resistance to performance management. Because as a leader leading the organization, you should know the traits and the ways of the mechanism that you can employ to make sure that problems are solved. So how to deal with resistance to change, read about it. Can come in examination, then we'll be able to handle this type of questions. This brings us to the end of Unit 2. Now we are moving to Unit 3, which is titled Broader Applications of Mentoring Than for Teaching Staff. In this case, under this unit, as a student, you should be able to know how teacher mentoring benefit learners' learning. Mentoring, teachers are mentoring learners. How are they benefiting if they are doing the mentoring? So you should read about it and have a clear understanding. Because here, if you are talking about how teacher mentoring benefit learners' learning, learners are coached, they are being directed, they are given the way, that this is the way, if you are to perform, this should be your concentration. It should be the part that you have to pay attention to for you to benefit. At the end of the day, learners are going to perform quite well if they get the correct directions from the teachers. So the teacher has a very important role to play or to perform for the success and better performance of the learners. And you should also have a clear understanding, the reason, be able to give the reasons why mentoring reduces teacher attrition. Read your module and be able to address this. For example, you can talk about face-to-face sessions. A principal, a head of department should be in contact with the teachers face-to-face. Call them, sit, get a picture. In this case, we are trying to reduce the problem of attrition. As I have indicated, mentoring does not only concern, it's not only a thing of the teacher, old teachers or senior teachers mentoring new teachers, or teachers mentoring students. Parents, they also need to be mentored. In this case, why should we mentor the parents? So as a student, you must be able to answer that question. What benefit are we getting? What is that we are mentoring parents on? The parents of the learners that we are teaching as teachers, that come to our schools as principals. So the parents are being guided on what approaches they can employ, they can put in place when they are dealing with their children at home. One can conclude that teachers or learners spend most of their time at school than their parents. Parents might not know their kids quite well than teachers. So therefore, if the parents get the necessary drills, if they get the necessary guidelines, if they get the necessary mentoring, positive, correct mentoring, so they are not going to experience problems in dealing with their children, because the child is at the center of attention. The parent is pushing the other side and the teacher is pushing the other side academically. So therefore, these three bodies should work together to make sure that the child is brought up in the right way. Both values and norms and beliefs at home and at school, and academically purposes. That brings us to the end of Unit 3. Now we are moving to Unit 4. And Unit 4 is basically, as the heading says, international research findings about mentoring. Mentoring is not something new. Not something new in Namibia. Not something new in the rest of Africa or outside the continent. Various research has been carried out by different people in different countries, trying to see the effectiveness of mentoring and their results. So therefore, as a student in this case, you should have to read the findings of other countries on mentoring. What are the outcomes? So therefore, you should go back to your module, read Unit 4. There are case studies. There are findings of the research that were carried out in different countries, in Australia, in the USA, and also put it in practical, contextualize it in the Namibian situation. You can also read more books on mentoring. Go to the internet. Prepare yourself for examination just to make sure that you are ready, and also for the sake of your own school, and see how good mentoring can work according to the research that were carried out. So there are websites that are provided in your module. Go back there and explore information so that you can bring mentoring into your school and understand it better and employ it or utilize it, just to make sure that there is maximum performance at the end of the day. That brings us to the end of Unit 4. Now we are moving to the last unit, which is Unit 5. Unit 5, the success, or the heading is the success of a mentoring system. In short, this unit, it contains the evaluation and assessment of mentoring that you can put into practical terms at your own institution. How to assess the evaluations that are used, evaluation forms. So you go back to this unit, you see the formats that are provided, and then you can make use of those formats in order to measure mentoring at your own institution. Because there is even a way or how to, it is even directed to how to evaluate instrument to assess induction program that's taking place, how to evaluate it, how to assess it. You go back to this unit, then you'll be able to get necessary information, and as a principal, implement, make use of these formats that are provided to make sure that you have measured, you are on the right track when it comes to mentoring. Evaluate, assess, implement, and find the possible way. If plan A does not work, then implement plan B. With this, we come to the end of the presentation for this module, Teaching and Assessment Mentoring B. I wish you all the best. Go through. This is not, let's not have the limit on this module, but we should explore some other venues, internet, and you get all the necessary information, the necessary guidelines, then we will be able to implement mentoring and at your school, and you'll also be able to perform quite well in your examination. Good luck and all the best for examination. Should you have questions, don't hesitate to contact me. I have given you my number, and I'm going to repeat it again at the end of this presentation. My cell phone number is 0811-480977. Thank you for listening, and all the best.